The views, opinions, and statements expressed in this program are those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Anything Entertainment Network.
You know already what the hottest podcast is in the world, the Brik Talks podcast. And so we're on Anything Entertainment Network. Make sure you download that and share it with all your friends. And come out and check out some of the conversations that we're having. We got some really riveting conversations. We're talking about community. We're talking about culture. We're talking about loving and helping one another to just build a great community and to build great surroundings in our community. Make sure you look for us on YouTube. We're on social media. Keep building, y'all. Keep it Brik. What's up, Briksters? Welcome back to the Brik Talks podcast, where we build resilience and inspire consciousness one brick at a time. I'm your host, the Brik Chick, and today's conversation is for anyone who's ever grown up fast, healed quietly, and learned discipline without a blueprint. Today, I'm sitting down with Del Price, Marine Corps veteran, entrepreneur, author, and co-founder of M.A.D Coffee Brands, a lifestyle brand rooted in discipline, daily motivation, and growth through mind, body, and soul. But beyond the titles, Del's story is about transformation. He grew up in a home where his parents separated multiple times, starting when he was just 9 years old. He experienced distance from his father, and later, one of their most defining moments was when his dad came to visit him while he was incarcerated. From that season to becoming a voice for resilience, responsibility, and restoration, Del chose evolution over excuses. He's the author of Black Man Go Home, and he's preparing to release The Queen Within, The Evolution of the Black Woman. Two works that challenge how we show up in our families, our relationships, and our communities. Today, we're talking about discipline, fatherhood, identity, healing after broken structures, and what it really means to rebuild your life brick by brick. So, if you ever ask yourself, how do I become better than what I was shown? This episode is for you. So, Bricksters, take a breath, open your heart, and let's get into it. So, welcome to Brik Talks, Del. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you for agreeing to come on in such a short notice, too. I appreciate it. I want
Yes,
to know,
ma'am.
how did you hear about my podcast?
Man, in trying to grow my platform, I think I saw one of your posts.
Okay.
And from there, I got to doing some digging around and saw a couple of your podcasts, and I was like, wow, I really need to link up with her,
Okay. Well, thank
because
you. I'm so glad you
it
did
seemed
that.
like we was running parallel to what we're trying to do within our community.
Yes, and that's a good thing. Connections. That's what our church is talking about now. Connections,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you're a Marine Corps veteran. That's a big thank you for your service, first of all.
Thank you very much.
So in the Marine Corps, discipline is central to your brand, right? Excuse me, okay. So you're a Marine Corps veteran. Thank you for your service. And
Thank you.
discipline is central to your brand through M.A.D Coffee Brands. But growing up, your parents separated multiple times starting at age 9. How did experiencing instability at home shape your understanding of discipline, structure, and manhood?
Well, first, let me say my dad was prior military. He was a Marine
Okay.
as well as he served in the Army. And this was at a very, very young age. We moved from New York to Detroit, and then he went back into the service and moved us to San Antonio. He was stationed at White Sands Missile Base. So there was structure early on.
Mhm.
Early on. As you stated, I first remember my parents separating at 9. Up until about that time, to me, everything in life seemed as it should. You know, we did things as a family. We traveled. I had both parents at home. You know,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until my dad got out of the service. Now, keep in mind, at a very young age, this man was my Superman, my hero. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick example of something that resonated with me and stuck with me for a long time. as we were leaving or loading up to leave the base, I saw my dad come out of the house literally with a dresser on his shoulder, right? And as a young child, I was like in the second grade, and I'm like, wow,
He's strong.
that's my guy. And so it stuck with me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I learned to be that way, from that one experience throughout my life. We moved from there. Actually, we moved there actually on Christmas Eve. Um, I remember driving off the base with Michael Jackson. I saw Mama singing "Kissing Santa Claus" playing in the U-Haul.
Right.
And so we moved to San Antonio again. Everything was fine. My parents,
So
my siblings.
were y'all PCSing?
No, not at the time. He was discharged at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, he was discharged, and so we spent a year in San Antonio. I remember that vividly. And then the last thing I remember was my sister, myself, and my mom, we were flying back to New York. And it was one we're going to visit, but we never went back, you know?
Okay.
And we were still, I guess, too young for her to say this is what's going on between them. But I
Mm-hmm.
just know wow, I think this was in 76. And I don't remember seeing my father again until 79, 80.
Okay.
So there was a 3-year gap that went on. And now this structure that we had in place was no longer there. You know, now I got this strong. Now, my mother was a strong Black woman. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
She was well liked within the community as well as within the family. Um, she was the type that she stayed on top of us, especially me, as far as school and things of that nature. And, that was back in them days where we got them whoopings.
Yes. You had to go
you
get that switch
know,
off the tree.
hey, go get that switch and come
Go get
here,
that. Yeah.
And, it got to the point where when spring came around, well, why our tree don't have no switches on it? Dale got that tree quick. You hear me? But, yeah, so
Are you from Rochester, New York?
I was born in Rochester. Yes, ma'am. Strong
Okay.
Memorial. And, and so we traveled early. And I was thankful for that because I had the opportunity to see a lot of different cultures.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to be able to mingle with a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
So that stigma of being only on one side of the fence and not being able to associate or communicate with other people, I didn't have that. So I was thankful for that. So by the time we got back to Rochester, um, I went to number 2 school, number 4 school, and eventually to Monroe for a year or two.
Okay.
And so again, it was to the point where mom was the disciplinarian. She was the one that took care of us. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Rochester, but I grew up in Fight Square, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
West
over there
side,
off
right?
of, yes, ma'am, over there off of Main,
On Main Street.
And Jefferson.
Yeah. So this show is recorded in Rochester.
Okay, see, so it was back in the town, and it was one of those where I grew up in an environment where we played, but we didn't play.
Right. Yeah,
you
that was something
know,
else over there, right?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am. And see, but again, mom was still that driving force.
Yeah.
And that went on until I was probably when I started Monroe. I'm getting as tall as mom now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking I'm starting to become a man. I'm starting to see those things on my face.
You were smelling yourself?
A little bit, yes, but a little bit. So listen, she
Oh.
uh she got to where she became first name acquaintances with the dean at Monroe. You know,
Oh.
Miss Waterman. I'll never forget her. And I would be in the hall, and I'm acting like young teenagers do, and she would say, "Do I need to call May?"
So
No,
it
ma'am.
wasn't because you was on the dean's list.
No, not at
Oh,
that particular moment. No, man. Look, I was on her list, but not that list. You hear me?
okay.
Not that list. But it got to where I think when I first started to realize where my father was, I came across some letters from him to her.
Mm-hmm.
And what I gathered from those letters was he was incarcerated himself in Texas.
Oh,
So he
okay.
never left Texas. Um, and no, let me rephrase. He left Texas. He came back to the Rock for a second. That's when my youngest brother was conceived. We lived on Adams Street.
Okay.
Okay. When dad left that second time was when I guess he got incarcerated, because
Okay.
that's when we moved off of Adams Street in a house to Fight Square.
Okay.
And so with that, mom, again, mom was, she was structured for us. She was a no nonsense. She taught us, particularly me, because I remember her used to always say, Del, you're going to learn this, you're going to learn this. You're not going to have to depend on this person or that person for this or that. So I
Mm-hmm.
learned at a very young age how to cook, how to clean.
Right.
And living in Fight Square, you had to be on your P's and Q's or you weren't going to make it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But she taught me things that I still to this day carry in my life. I can keep my place clean. I can cook. I can do my laundry. I can do, and not just the what people would consider female, jobs
Uh-huh.
or responsibilities,
Melrose.
roles or responsibilities. But I was able to learn my inner strength from her. I never really saw my parents yell, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They spoke with a quiet authority, you
Okay.
know. And when I got to a point where, I got to being a little verbal with people, mom was the one who taught me, Dale, you don't have to tell everybody to kiss your, what,
Right.
the way you're doing it,
There's other ways.
There's other ways,
More subtle. Right.
So mom taught me strength. What I gathered from my dad and what I carried even when he wasn't there was the toughness. I knew my dad didn't play. He was well liked in the town. He was well liked in the family. He didn't do a lot of talking as well, and I molded that.
Okay.
So the time that he was there, what he also taught me without me knowing was that even though I didn't see him hit mom or, rough her, I saw him go over here with this lady.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him go over here and do this way. Or I saw him handle things a certain way. And I thought that was the way you handled things. That's how
Okay.
you handled your conflicts. You didn't fight with your wife or argue with her. You just rolled up over here, you know, until you
Mm-hmm.
was ready to go back home. And that played a big part in my life later on, you know.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
that
that would be like the experiencing the instability, right? So that's where the
yes, ma'am.
instability comes in. Okay. All right. And so that helped shape your understanding of discipline into manhood, or I mean,
No,
I know you guys had
I still didn't know. So to be honest with you, when I was in high school, I was a very good football player. I was an all-state football player, and but I lost my scholarships because of my attitude. You
Okay.
know, I was not a bad kid. I was just boisterous. I always said what was on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And
You didn't beat to the drum.
I tried to be the
Right.
I tried to do my own drum beat,
Right. On your
and
own. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And so I remember that I threw my helmet at my coach last game of my senior year and got blackballed. I didn't know again what different other schools were. I didn't know what after contacting the couple that contacted me and we no longer have a scholarship. I didn't know about D2s. I didn't know about junior colleges. These things
Yeah.
weren't taught to me. So I had that inner, now I'm upset because I knew I should have gone further. And at 17, um, I'm walking around with this.
Mm-hmm.
So mom was like, well, why don't you join the military? And why don't you go here? Why don't you go there? Long story short, I got her to sign for me to become a Marine. Okay.
Okay.
Um, of course, anybody who's ever been through uh, Marine Corps boot camp, and I went to Paris Island, you know,
Mm-hmm.
anyone that knows about that will realize that or understand that there's discipline the moment you get on that bus going into, to the base.
Yeah.
And it stayed with you through life. What
Mm-hmm.
got me through not only boot camp, but everything after that was my mom's voice in my head, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Mom, I mean, I've been in situations where bump my training, bump my training. I'm listening to May Joyce right now, and
Right.
and it
The
got me
original
through.
thing.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am, it got me through. So um, I graduate from boot camp. I come home. Um, mom's proud, of course, but dad's still not there. You know,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I seen him probably twice through high school. You know,
Okay. Okay.
and by this time, I'm starting to have those questions of, bro, where you been, and what's going on.
Do you
Uh,
think him not being around was some of the reasons why you were you were so boisterous, or that you were, I mean, I know some things are part of our personalities that we just feel like we're born with, but do you think that some of your behaviors and some of the things that you were saying were really deeply rooted in the fact that you were missing something from your dad?
well, yes, ma'am. I can say that now. I
Okay.
couldn't say it then.
At the
You
time.
know,
You didn't know what it was, but that's really what.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't know what it was. I knew that I'm acting like my father in a sense of in school. I'm hitting people quick. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
um, I am. I'm not raging and I'm not out of control, but I'm starting to emulate some of the things I've seen my father do. And I don't know if it was a sense of me trying to hold on to him that way
Okay.
or um, what it was, but it wasn't settling right with mama. If I'm going to jump ahead some, I had to. The one thing my mom always instilled in me was to be real with myself.
Absolutely.
One thing she always told me, and I teach this to my children now, and I teach this to other people is to thine own self be true.
Mhm.
You feel me? So for me, I had to start being true to myself, and in trying to be true to myself, I had to dissect my dad.
Okay.
And in dissecting my dad, I had to slow down long enough and say, wait a minute, I'm angry at him for not teaching me, but who taught him?
Right. And am I doing any better at this point? No.
Well, nobody ever taught him, is where I'm going with this.
Yes, I
You see what
see.
I'm saying? And so that's where that structure, that dynamic is broken for a lot of us in the black community, especially black men, is we have generations of men that became men, but weren't taught how to be men.
Mm-hmm.
So again, how could my father teach me something he didn't know? And
True.
that
That's what,
transpired to my older son and my youngest brother is they emulated me. And it broke my heart one day when I chastised both of them for something and they said, well, we learned this from you.
okay.
So my emulating my father caused me to do things, and they emulated what they saw me do.
Okay.
So that dynamic continued. And
Okay.
I'm sure my father, who had 11 uncles on one side of the family, I'm sure he saw the same thing.
Okay. I got you.
You see what I'm
So it
saying?
wasn't so much about him not being taught to be a man, it's just the type of man that he was taught to be.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I would accept that. Yes.
Yes.
So,
So
so
what
it,
so let me ask you this. So a lot of men carry silent chapters of incarceration. How long were you incarcerated for?
well, it wasn't for how long, it was how many times,
Oh, really?
you know?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So,
Wow.
so yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, several times,
Okay.
you know, and the one thing I can say is, and I can say, everybody say, oh, I'm innocent.
Right.
Some I was for and some I wasn't. But
Okay.
in owning myself, in owning and being real with myself, I say, okay, Dell, I can be angry at them for this,
Yeah.
or I can understand where I put myself in a situation for them to even mess with me.
Right. Okay.
You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I do.
So I then developed that mentality so I was not rebelling every time this came about.
You were
My
taking
thing was okay. Yes, ma'am. My thing was okay. Now, how soon can I get back home?
right.
What do I
Okay.
need to do to get back home?
Okay.
And so that became where my building of myself became um, one of first self awareness. I had to first be real with myself, as my mother said. You know, I had to forgive my father. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had to start taking ownership of the things that I was doing wrong. I had to then begin to uh, be disciplined about the way I carried myself, knowing that there are repercussions for everything in life that we do.
Right.
And that's something again I try to teach my sons and uh, and others around me is, hey, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you're able to deal with the repercussions of it.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah. Do what
there's a
you
flip side to everything you do in life,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as you can handle that, do whatever you want, but know that it's on you. You
Okay.
know.
So was this the mindset shift that helped you move from that season in your life to becoming an entrepreneur and the voice for resilience?
Yes, ma'am. I would say that's where it started. You
Okay.
know, um, I uh, I loved being uh, a father. I loved being a part of a family. You know,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
um, I left Arizona where I was during my divorce, going through my divorce, and I ended up in Northwest Arkansas, and I it was not a place I intended on living. I didn't go there to reside. I
Okay.
went there to visit, and I ended up staying.
Okay.
Um, I ended up in another relationship. Later on in life, I had two more children. Um, and I think I stayed a lot of that, even knowing that relationship was not progressively growing in a manner that I wanted. I stayed because I wanted to be a better father to my two younger children than I was to my
First time.
older
Oh,
children. You
so
know,
so that wasn't as it sounded to me like you and your first wife, there was like young love and y'all was really in love with each other, right?
yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
This marriage, you saying not that you didn't love her, but that you thought that maybe when you saw that you two grew apart, that you were more so there because you wanted to be that for your children that you felt like you didn't have. Is that a fair
Yes,
statement?
ma'am. Not that I didn't have, but I recognized where um, I was not the father I wanted to be to my older children. You
Okay.
know,
Okay.
and the reason being is because I was too busy trying to be Dell rather than Daddy. You
Okay.
know,
All right.
and
And there was
so
a
again,
disconnect. There was a disconnect there.
That's where the disconnect was. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And that was part of that package that I put on my father. You know,
Okay. And that was because you was being a player still, or you had
I,
let that go?
I was no, no, well, I hadn't let it go yet. You
Okay.
know,
Oh, you
but
hadn't. You
I
had
did
not.
not. You know,
Yeah.
my thing was when I met my youngest children's mom. I mean, I did. I put it down. Um, my thing was I'm a big communicator.
Okay.
And I tell this to people is, we treat people or we train people how to treat us,
Yes, we do.
you know, and whether we know it or not, you don't have to come up and say, treat me like this and blah, blah, blah. But the things that we allow, the
Mhm.
things and the things that are said and done that we don't correct off the bat, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
when we do that, just like what we do with our children, if we don't chastise our children off the jump when we see them do something wrong, then later in life they're like, well, how you chastising me now when you allowed me to do this for so long?
Yeah, it was
You
okay for
know,
all these years. Yeah.
it
Hmm.
was okay. So the same thing reigns true in a relationship,
Okay.
you know? And
Hmm.
if you are not able to communicate at least on equal footing, not only about daily things, but where you're trying to go in life, eventually that bulb burns,
Okay.
you know? And that's not a bad thing. That's life, you
Hmm.
know? But when you add the children to that dynamic, it changes things, you
Okay.
know?
Okay. So let me ask you something. So, and lead into your book, Black Man Go Home, which is a powerful title, by the way.
Thank
Um,
you.
what does that really mean? When you say go home, are you speaking about physical presence, emotional accountability, spiritual grounding, or some semblance of the three, or is it something totally different?
All of the above. All of
Okay.
the above. Now, I've had a lot of gentlemen hit me up and say, well, I'm not going back to that house. And I'm not, well, brother, hold on. It's not so much about you going back to the home that you left. It's about you going back and being accountable within your children's lives, within
Mm-hmm.
your community, you know? So, say, for instance, I didn't have kids.
Yeah.
I still owe a responsibility to the other Black men in the community,
Right.
especially if I see them doing wrong. You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of kids that are growing up that was in my shoes, and we wonder why they're getting in trouble or they're doing this. They have no guidance, you know, and you have people that say, well, that doesn't affect me. Well, it may not affect you, but a
Mhm.
lot of the other ones it does.
Right.
And so Black Man Go Home is basically about for us to rebuild anything. So let's say you bought a home and you found out that your home was just full of termites.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to tear it down. Okay.
Mhm.
So you tear this home down and you put all this money into rebuilding it, but you never checked your foundation. And now
Mm.
you rebuilt this home on shisty foundation.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So we keep saying, "Oh, let's rebuild this and grow this and do that," but we still don't have a full understanding of why we're in the situations that we're in.
Okay.
So, Black Man Go Home is about us being able to go all the way back to where it started. Understand what manhood training was back in the motherland, knowing
Mhm.
that the community helped to raise you. You getting hair on your crotch and on your face didn't make you a man. You
Right.
know, it was when that community released you and say you are ready for responsibility or man type responsibilities is when
Mhm.
they looked at you as being a man.
Right.
Well,
Well, there
before
were
you and
rites of
I,
passages too. There were rites of passages that.
oh yes, ma'am, and that's what that all entailed. Yes, and
Okay.
that's in the book as well.
Okay.
So, but then it also shows where when we first got to the U.S. My book is not about a rant. It's not about just my interpretation of things.
Okay.
It's factual events that happened from the time we were first put in chains till you and I speaking tonight. Okay.
Okay.
It's about how uh, the masters, when they took us off them boats, it was a plan to break us as black men.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so I'll give you this much. If you break the head of the house,
Mm-hmm.
or you break that black man off the bat, and you make sure you do it publicly so that his children see it, his woman sees it,
Mm-hmm.
it puts something different in them, first of all.
Yes.
But it eventually puts something in him to where he loses himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. They beat you to a point of you've lost yourself. And now I can't teach this boy, my son or my nephew or whomever else in this community, I can't teach him to be a man because I'm going to be chastised and beat for it.
Well, and it was more than just beating. They also had they studied them out. So there were also plantations where they would use black men to create more black babies to work more in the fields. It wasn't just the beatings and the mistreatment. It was other things that they were using black people for too, their body parts.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
your mind.
And it's also structure, the structure in which they had it. Like, so imagine you as the matriarch of the family, waking up every day not knowing if your man is going to be sold, if your child is going to be sold, if you're going to be sold.
Yeah.
You know? And so as a man who came over here as a protector, and now I'm seeing these things, I'm seeing my wife or my sister or my mother carried off, and there's nothing I can do. I'm watching my child sold off, and there's nothing I can do. Or
Right.
I myself, after being beat down, am sold away somewhere and never to see my family again.
Mm-hmm.
You
And that
see what I'm saying?
goes into the DNA. Yeah, and that's probably it's a lot of what we're living with today.
And so then let's jump forward. So we make it through that. We're emancipated. We become free. There was a moment in time where a lot of our generations now have no clue that we were senators and congressmen and things after we were slaves.
And
But what
before that,
happened
we
is,
were emperors and kings and
oh,
queens. Yeah.
oh, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. That's all in the book. And the thing that I'm getting at is, in this time, we were that, and they took it away. They created these Jim Crow laws, and then when we got through, it's like us going through mazes our whole lives. Our generations are constantly going through a maze trying to find the cheese at the end. So we had to deal with Jim Crow. We had to deal with all this crap in the South. Then we had to deal with COINTELPRO. Where our government is literally setting rules in place to incarcerate us, to fill our communities with drugs, alcohol, for us to kill each other.
Right.
Then, okay, well, wow, these Negroes are working their way through this too. Then they say, well, okay, well, we started the mass incarcerations and we started this welfare system, which everyone thinks is a black thing, but it was for white families,
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the blacks needed it that it became an issue.
Yeah, and healthcare and everything. Well, yeah.
And then it became one of, well, you can get it, black woman, but you can't have no man in your house.
Yeah.
You can't have any man of legal working age in your house, or we're going to take your thing. So now here you go again as a black woman having to make another choice. Do I feed my children because my man can't get a job because you're not giving him any livable wages, or do I keep my man? So the man had to go. I grew up during that time. I remember those things in different families, throughout the family. Yeah. So where, okay, the lady from the welfare may pop up today, you got to make sure there ain't even no shoes in the house,
Yeah, that's where you couldn't leave them shoes under that bed. So
you couldn't do nothing.
For the second time. So where the black man go home? Where's your book? Where's the book available at? Is it on
So
Amazon?
right now the book is available on Amazon and Kindle under Black Man Go Home by D. Raymond Price.
Okay. You have an
We are.
ebook too? Is that on
I am
Kindle?
working. Yes, ma'am. We have an ebook and a paperback,
Okay.
and I am working on a workbook. I will have a workbook for both that, and I'm almost finished with The Queen Within, the evolution of the Black woman, which is basically the woman's perspective, uh, you know, throughout history up until today.
What
Um,
inspired you to explore the inner world of the Black woman?
Ma'am.
What inspired you to explore the inner world of the Black woman? What made you want to do?
Well, again, so let me go back real quickly. I told you that my mother taught me to be a strong man. My
Yes.
mother taught me to be strong mentally, physically. My
Mm-hmm.
mother taught me a lot of things, but the one thing my mother could not do was teach me how to be a man.
Yes.
There's not a female species on this earth that can teach that male species how to be a man or a
Mm-hmm.
male. So, you guys, and when I say you guys, you Black women have your voice as well. You have your road and your cross that you carry throughout history as well, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so there's a lot of sisters out here that are going through the same thing that we went through, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And they're not understanding why they're going through this or why they went through this, you know? And so ultimately, I'm going to have a third book that brings this together. Now, my thing and my hope and my prayer is to help to rebuild our community. It's not going to happen overnight. Even say God looked down and touched everything, it would still be another generation or two before we felt the effects, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But we have to start somewhere.
That's
And
true.
ultimately, it's not about again the Black man going back to his house or even the Black woman why she acts this way or where she's going. Ultimately, I want them to be able to reunite. There's a
Okay.
huge disconnect in our community between the Black man and the Black woman,
Absolutely.
you know, and a lot of where the Black woman is now with her independence, her education, her jobs, um, and the years and generations of well, I've learned to survive without you anyway, you know, and so there's a huge disconnect there that we have to learn to bridge that,
Yes.
you know.
Well, I think a part of that too was becoming that independent and that woman that was able to go out and earn a living and do those things because in a way she was protecting too because not only was she married to this man but she was also birthing these men. She was
Yes,
birthing,
ma'am.
the her sons and those became somebody's husband and somebody's father, right? So I think that as a part of that, she knew that she could sometimes sway the mood of the aggressors, right? And the slave masters, right? Because with her femininity, to not be too graphic. But that was and in doing so, she became this person that was going to be the protective so that she could avoid having to see that and having to witness that of something that she loved that she brought into this world. So, I can see that from two different sides. It became a necessity because it was survival, but it also was a protective mechanism for the sons that she bore and for, the husband that she loved, the Black man
Okay,
that
and everything that you said is true. Okay, but what did I say? No matter what she did and these sons that she bore, she could not teach them to be a man.
no,
So
no, no, no.
now,
But we were
so
talking
now,
about where she comes from with this independence is what I was
yes,
taught.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so that independence grew, at least let's take the slavery portion and the early generations out of it. Let's just start from the welfare start. Okay.
Mhm.
To get out of that welfare system, and I'm not saying every sister was on welfare. That's not what I'm saying.
Mhm.
But during that time frame, we as men were still disassociated. We came around, we saw our women, we pet our kids on the head, and we went on back about our lives because
Mhm.
this is what we knew. Okay. For these women, they had to be able to, in order to continue to take care of their kids, grow into something more.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys did that. And
Yeah.
I applaud every woman who did that. Okay.
Yeah.
You survived. You became more than what society thought you would ever be. Okay.
Right.
If you look at the dynamics of America right now, who is the most hated at this point is the black woman. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason being is because you carry so much weight. Okay. The black woman carries so much. I mean, whether it's with elections or swaying this or swaying that, the black woman's voice carries a lot of weight. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have earned that. But keep in mind, you have these boys that became men, and a lot of them, again, still had that same thing within them where they wanted more. They knew what mama taught them, but we learned under fire, you
Okay.
know? And so, again, it's not everyone, but for the most part, we as a community, we as black men who have gone through the fire, you know, those of us who have put those lumps in and saw the insides of these jail cells and knew what it was like to have to lose a family in order to know how to take care of the next one, or we it's our responsibility to go back and teach the generation or generations that are coming up now not to fall into that, you
Right.
know and so it's almost like I teach my youngest son, who's also an all-state football player. I'm trying to get him off to college now.
Wow.
Um, I tell him, thank you. I tell him, I wish I had YouTube and things like that to teach me something,
Right.
to learn my craft on.
Mm-hmm.
See, we didn't have that. We learned under fire.
Yeah.
And so the same thing is with life.
Yeah.
So in life, we learned under fire. We didn't have anyone that could pull us aside and say, don't do this, do it this way, don't do that, because they didn't know this, they didn't know that. Well, a lot of us now that are still around, we've gone through it.
Yes.
It's our responsibility. And that's why I felt compelled to write that book, as well as the other, is to let me put my experience in this and put real history at a time when our government and others are trying to erase it.
Right. I got you. So when can we expect you to drop the Queen Within?
My initial thought was by Mother's Day,
Okay.
but I am ahead of schedule with it, and I'm shooting for Easter.
Okay. Okay. And
So
that'll
I
be
will keep.
available on Amazon as well and Kindle as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell us a
Yes,
little bit
ma'am.
about your coffee brand.
So the name of my coffee brand, thank you, is called M.A.D Coffee Blends. And the
Okay.
acronyms on that is for motivated and determined.
Okay.
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 So I don't want the Starbucks, pinky in the air, mocha laka, whatever they're
Want that?
drinking. I
Whatever people.
want, hey, I want for my coffee. Well, first of all, it's for everyone, but it's for those that get up in the morning and get their grind on.
Okay.
Is for those that the construction workers, the moms that are getting up at 5 to get everybody ready because she got to get them to school and get to work. And
Mhm.
it's for those that trying to hit the gym early. you
Okay.
know it's for the motivated and determined people that have a vision of what they're trying to accomplish. you
Okay.
know
What gives it that edge?
Oh, I have strong blends, you
Okay.
know, and a couple of them are African blends. So you guys check it out. And I also do exotic teas with that, you
Okay.
know.
Is
My favorite
it
being
available
peach.
online?
Yes, ma'am. At www.mad, M-A-D, coffeeblends.com.
That's BLENDS.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your wisdom. You were saying something about your one of your tea blends?
Well, I was just saying that my favorite, as far as my teas, is Peach Paradise.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it's my teas are strong, just like my coffee. You
Okay.
know,
All right. And how long has Mad? I don't think I've heard of Mad coffee blends before.
I
How long?
just launched it. Actually, I launched it about 5 months ago.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yeah. So my thing is, I'm trying to build a community. My personal brand is mind, body, and soul.
Okay.
So once you got your mind right, you keep your body right, your
Yeah.
soul will feel okay. You know, and
Yeah.
once you align the three, and it's in purpose with the man upstairs,
Mm.
stay motivated and determined. There's nothing you couldn't do.
That's
That's my uh give back to society and to our community.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's very, very important, and that is in alignment with what Brick is talking about with building resilience and inspiring consciousness. We have to learn how to, pull ourselves up and continue to keep moving, and in spite of everything else. And when you talk about resilience, responsibility, and restorations in modern relationships, because I noticed, you bring the two together. What do you believe is the biggest missing ingredient in today's relationships?
Honesty.
Mm,
Honesty. Um, again, I'm gonna go back to what May Joyce taught me: to thine own self be true. I've
mm-hmm.
seen a lot of guys who walk away from relationships, and women too, that there's a disagreement. So I'll say honesty and communication. Let me rephrase:
Okay.
honesty and communication. Because if you can't communicate, you're on borrowed time, you
Right.
know? So in your head, you're thinking one way, in her head, she's thinking another way, and it's veering in two different directions. And
Okay.
eventually it's going to come to a head. So with that being said, what's missing is, I know for me, I eventually got to the point where, okay, we're not going to bed upset about anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about whatever needs to be talked about, so we don't wake up with this same problem in the morning.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
um, and you have to be. The one thing I get on guys about is, stop getting at women just because of their appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have babies, and I'm gonna, everything I say from personal experience, and I'm gonna use my oldest son, and he'll probably be mad at me for it, but
Don't have nobody mad now.
listen, so it was a time where he would call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, Daddy, come get me.
Right.
He arguing with his girl. Daddy, come get me. She done put me out, or Daddy, this. And then I had to tell him, wait a minute, I'm not doing this no more, because you chose her.
Yeah.
You chose her. You knew she was crazy when you met her, but yet you still not only chose to get into a relationship with her, but have a baby with her.
Right.
So we have to learn to choose our mates wisely, you
Right.
know. But
Right.
everything in this society now is so microwave, you know. We get online and get everything instantly, you know, and we do the same thing with our relationships, you
Uh-huh.
know. We want it now, and before you know it, you tie it into a relationship, and neither one of you know anything about each other,
Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
know, and then you don't know how to communicate with each other to learn about each other.
Right. Right.
you know so the thing that I would say, and the advice I would give to your audience, is to learn to communicate with each other, and you have to be honest with yourself first and foremost about what you want in life, and that the person that you're communicating with understands what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, well, I thank you so much for coming on and sharing that time with us. I just want you to sit with something. I want people to understand that, so many of us were raised in homes where love was present, but stability wasn't quite there. Where one parent had to be two, or where silence filled the gaps. And so where questions went unanswered, and where we learned strength early, sometimes too early. So Dell's story reminds us that growing up in and out of separation, feeling distance from a parent, and trying to make sense of manhood, womanhood, and identity on our own is what shaped us, but it does not define us. See, when you grow up in a single parent or a fractured home, life hands you bricks, right? Some are heavy, some are cracked, some are painful. Abandonment, confusion, anger, insecurity, self doubt. We're in survival mode. And for a long time, we don't even realize that we're carrying them. So one day we get a choice. You can throw those bricks at life or you can start building with them. So Dell
Amen.
chose to build, and from instability to discipline, from incarceration to entrepreneurship, from broken patterns to intentional purpose, brick by brick. And that's what this show is about. So, not pretending we had perfect childhoods or not blaming our parents forever and not staying stuck in what we didn't get or what we didn't have, but deciding that I'm going to become what I needed. I'm going to be the structure that I was missing. I'm going to love better than I was shown, and I'm going to heal forward. So if you were raised by that strong single parent, right, or a struggling two parents that were struggling, a father, grandparents, or the streets, or just God alone, because some of us didn't have anything but God. Hear me, you are not behind. You are being built. Every lesson, every loss, every setback, every comeback, it's a brick. And today, I hope Dell's story reminded you that your past can be your foundation, not your prison. And family, keep stacking wisely, keep healing intentionally, keep growing spiritually, and keep showing up authentically. Because if you are taking those bricks and you're building walls, or you can take those bricks and you can build a firm foundation. So this is Brick Chick, and we're building resilience, inspiring consciousness, brick by brick. Until next time, thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
You know already what the hottest podcast is in the world, the Brik Talks podcast. And so we're on Anything Entertainment Network. Make sure you download that and share it with all your friends, and come out and check out some of the conversations that we're having. We got some really riveting conversations. We're talking about community. We're talking about culture. We're talking about loving and helping one another to just build a great community and to build great surroundings in our community. Make sure you look for us on YouTube. We're on social media. Keep building, y'all. Keep it brick.